This video is also about Chariots of Fire from GMT. It's part of the Great Battles of History system. And there are more scenarios than the ones I've covered. There's another one called the Battle of Neriah. This is the Assyrians against the Hittites. I did not play that one. I have another one here called Babylon. And this is the Assyrians against the Kassite Babylonians, which I did not play also. And then there's another scenario, I'll just say the Trojan Wars, which has, you've read some of this maybe in Plutarch's Lives or something. Anyway, the interesting thing that I did do with this series at the time I stopped playing, and I decided to do some scenarios of my own after having realized how, Berg didn't operate on very much information. So I did two battles out of the book of Judges in the Old Testament. One of them was of Ehud, who was one of the judges that was raised up against the Moabites. And the other one I did was of Othniel, who was also one of the judges in the Old Testament, against, I think, the king of Mesopotamia, whoever that happened to be at the time. Anyway, I based these out of what I knew and used the Bible accounts. So I'm going to just share these battles with you also. Thanks for watching. So this battle here is one that I created. I created my own counters for it to some degree. And this is the Israelites versus the Syrians. Not a lot of information on this battle, but it is recorded in the Old Testament in Judges chapter 3, verses 7 through 11. So not a lot of information. However, Othniel is listed as a judge that was raised up to free Israel from oppression from the king of Mesopotamia, who is named Cushan Rishathim. It is likely that this king probably ruled the northwestern part of Syria, and that the battle was near the tribal inheritance of the tribe of Manasseh to the east of the Jordan, near the road from Damascus to Hazor. Cushan Rishathim reportedly had subjugated the Israelites for 8 years prior to this battle, but Othniel led an undisclosed number of troops against an undisclosed number of the Mesopotamian army. And this battle resulted in an Israelite victory, which led to 40 years of peace. I don't believe I put any chariots in this battle. There's no evidence that there were any. But this kind of shows the opening setup that I gave it. And I did create these counters partly myself. And in this first photo, you see Judge Othniel and the Israelite army pressing forward. And then this next picture, you can see them advancing toward the Mesopotamian army. And at this stage, I have kind of had King Cushan Rishathim being a little bit conservative in his approach. He does move a little bit toward them, but we allow him to just kind of be somewhat passive. Then, though, Othniel seizes the initiative, and he tries to launch an attack right against the center here. You can see that he's got some breakthroughs, and he's not afraid in this battle of being right on the front line with some of these troops. Here is a close-up of the fighting, and you can see the Mesopotamian troops and King Cushan Rishathim is right also on the front lines. I didn't give him the best ratings because he definitely lost this battle big time to an underdog. Then a little bit later in the battle, you can see that Cushan Rishathim becomes trapped in the center as his shock army is routing. You can see here is a close-up. It's not a good situation for the king of Mesopotamia to be in. And then finally, in this last picture, we reach the route level, and I forgot what I set that at, but the Mesopotamian army is now routing, and here's another close-up of the situation of these forces kind of running away. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. This is just a homemade scenario, and thanks for watching. This is another scenario that I created for Chariots of Fire. Again, this one has no chariots in it, but it was that period. And this is Israel versus Moab. I'm saying this is probably in the, I don't know, 1300s BCE. It's recorded in the Old Testament in Judges chapter 3, verses 12 through 30. It is actually a fascinating account. The Israelites had been subjugated by Moab for 18 years, and they raised a judge, a military leader named Ehud, to liberate them. And he was a Benjaminite, which is of the same tribe that the first king of Israel ended up being from, King Saul. And Ehud was a lefty, so I really like that about him, although the biblical word means he was ambidextrous. Anyway, he made friendly acquaintance with the king of Moab who'd been oppressing his people. His name was Eglon. And Eglon was, let's just say, morbidly obese according to the Bible. I worded that differently than how it reads in the King James. Anyway, Ehud seized the occasion to assassinate King Eglon, and then he fled the palace. And then went about rallying the Israelite troops in the territory of Ephraim to proceed to attack the Moabite army, which had been demoralized since the king had just been assassinated. So Ehud seized the fords of the river Jordan, and then his army attacked the Moabites, and in the end defeated them entirely. So this first picture shows the initial contact. This is where Israel advances toward the Moabite army. And as luck would have it, the Moabites actually make first contact and take some of the engagement advantages here. You can see that in this second picture. Israel suffers a little bit as its part of its center line routed, but the some of the Moabite army's first line shock troops also routed. Then in this next picture, this is the counter that I made for Judge Ehud, the Benjaminite. And yeah, it says that he's light infantry, but he's really supposed to be shock infantry. I just didn't change that when I made the counter. And this next picture shows a closer look at the center position. Both sides have suffered some units routing, but the second line of the Moabite army consists of some severely demoralized units. In this next picture, we see the battle continues. Ehud presses his shock infantry forward into the Moabite position, and he is able to gain some numerical superiority against some of the troops. In fact, an elite Moabite infantry in the center. And the Moabite general has to run to the standards because he is trying to rally some of his defeated army. Then in the next picture, you see the Israelite left wing. Here, the Moabite army is attempting to flank Ehud's infantry line with some light infantry coming from the Moabite right flank. Some of these are javelin equipped and some have slings, and they are firing at the rear flank of this Israelite army. And it does yield some hits and some loss of cohesion for the defenders. This next picture is just a little bit of an overview of the battlefield, and we can see that much of the Israelite light infantry are missile low. They're not in much danger, though, as they're fairly out of harm's way. The next picture shows how things are continuing on the right wing, which is mostly devoid of Moabite units. The remaining infantry there is quite weak, as you can see in the picture. This next picture shows the Israelite left, and it's a close-up of the Israelite army's position when the Moabites finally reached their route level. And then this next photo shows the routing forces heading off the map edge, and this is somewhat of the historic result. And this last picture just shows a picture of Ehud and the counter that I made for him, as well as some of the Ephraimite shock infantry. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed taking a look at some of these homemade scenarios that I made. But this does bring my series on Chariots of Fire to an end. So thank you for watching if you were able to look at some of this series, and I hope you have a great day.